I'm so grateful you've joined me today as we explore some of the most profound wisdom ever written, the biblical Proverbs. These ancient words of wisdom have guided people for thousands of years, offering practical insights for navigating life's complexities. Whether you're facing difficult decisions, struggling with relationships, or simply seeking to grow in wisdom, these proverbs offer timeless guidance that's as relevant today as when they were first penned. The Book of Proverbs contains the collected wisdom of Solomon, known as the wisest king who ever lived, along with other sages. What makes these proverbs so powerful is their simplicity and applicability to everyday situations. They're not complicated philosophical treatises, but straightforward principles that anyone can understand and apply. Today, we'll explore 10 powerful proverbs that can transform how you approach your daily life. These aren't just nice sayings or motivational quotes. They're divine wisdom that can reshape your thinking, guide your decisions, and ultimately lead to a life of integrity, purpose, and blessing. So grab your Bible, a notebook, or just sit back and listen as we unpack these treasures of wisdom together. Let's start with what might be the most important principle in the entire book of Proverbs. In Proverbs 1:7 we read, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction." This verse establishes the foundation for all wisdom, recognizing and revering God. When the Bible speaks of fear, it's not talking about being afraid or terrified of God, but rather having a deep respect and awe for Him. It's acknowledging that God is the ultimate source of wisdom and truth. This reverence positions us to receive wisdom rather than relying solely on our limited understanding. Think about it this way. If you want to learn a new skill, you first need to acknowledge that you don't know everything and respect those who can teach you. Similarly, wisdom begins when we acknowledge God's authority and insight. This fear of the Lord creates humility in us, opening our hearts and minds to receive instruction. Without this foundation, we might gain information or intelligence, but true wisdom remains elusive. The latter part of the verse presents a stark contrast. Fools reject wisdom and instruction. They think they already know enough, or that wisdom is unnecessary. But this pride ultimately leads to poor decisions and painful consequences. So the first step in applying Proverbs to your daily life is approaching each day with humility before God, recognizing that His ways and thoughts are higher than ours, and being willing to learn from His instruction. Now let's explore how Proverbs guide our everyday conversations. Proverbs 15:1 states, "A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." This verse offers powerful guidance for navigating conflicts and difficult conversations that we all encounter. Think about the last heated argument you witnessed or were part of. When someone responds to anger with more anger, what typically happens? The conflict escalates, emotions intensify, and resolution becomes nearly impossible. But when someone responds with gentleness and patience, it often diffuses tension. This proverb isn't suggesting we become passive or never address problems. Rather, it's teaching us about the power of our tone and approach. A gentle answer communicates respect and opens the door for real dialogue, while harsh words shut down communication. The wisdom here applies to so many scenarios: disagreements with your spouse, conflicts at work, tensions with friends, even discussions on social media. Our natural instinct when attacked is to defend ourselves forcefully or counterattack, but this proverb challenges us to take a different path. When we choose gentle words, we're not showing weakness. We're displaying emotional maturity and wisdom. In fact, it often requires greater strength to remain calm in the face of hostility than to lash out. Practically speaking, this might mean pausing before responding when emotions are high, choosing words carefully, speaking in a calm tone, and focusing on understanding rather than winning. This simple principle, when applied consistently, can transform your relationships and create an atmosphere of respect and peace around you. Let's turn to a proverb that addresses our approach to work and responsibility. Proverbs 6:6-8 offers this fascinating observation. "Go to the ant, you sluggard. Consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander, no overseer or ruler. Yet it stores its provisions in summer and gathers its food at harvest." This proverb uses a simple creature, the ant, to teach profound lessons about diligence and foresight. Have you ever watched ants working? They're remarkably industrious, each one fulfilling its role without needing constant supervision. They prepare for the future, gathering food when it's available because they instinctively know winter is coming. Solomon calls us to learn from these tiny teachers. First, this proverb addresses the value of self-motivation. The ants work diligently, without someone standing over them giving orders. They don't need external pressure to do what needs to be done. In our lives, this speaks to developing internal motivation rather than only working hard when someone is watching. Second, it highlights the importance of planning ahead. The ants don't wait until winter to start gathering food. They prepare during times of abundance. This teaches us to be proactive rather than reactive in our responsibilities. Third, it emphasizes consistent, steady effort. Ants don't try to move entire food sources in a single day. They make regular trips, gradually accomplishing tremendous work. This principle applies whether you're a student, a parent, an employee, or a business owner. Consistent effort over time leads to significant results and helps avoid the stress of last-minute cramming or firefighting. Proverbs 4:23 gives us one of the most profound pieces of personal wisdom. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. This verse reveals something crucial about human nature, that our inner life directly shapes our outer actions. In biblical language, the heart refers to our core being, our thoughts, feelings, desires, and will. It's the wellspring of our decisions, attitudes, and behavior. This proverb teaches us that what we allow into our hearts and minds ultimately determines the direction and quality of our lives. Think of your heart like the control center for your entire life. Just as we carefully protect valuable possessions, we should be even more vigilant about what influences we allow to shape our hearts. In practical terms, this means being intentional about what we watch, listen to, and read. It means being selective about our friendships and who we allow to speak into our lives. It means regularly examining our thoughts and attitudes, asking if they align with truth and love. It also means addressing negative patterns like bitterness, unforgiveness, or harmful desires before they take root and redirect our life's course. This principle is especially relevant today, when we're constantly bombarded with messages through social media, entertainment, news, and advertising, all competing to shape our values and worldview. Guarding your heart doesn't mean isolating yourself from the world, but rather being discerning and intentional about what you internalize. When we successfully guard our hearts, we're better positioned to live with integrity, make wise decisions, and maintain healthy relationships. Relationships form such a central part of our lives, and Proverbs offers abundant wisdom for navigating them successfully. Consider Proverbs 27:17. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. This powerful metaphor speaks to the transformative potential of our close relationships. When iron sharpens iron, both pieces undergo change through friction and pressure. Similarly, meaningful relationships involve both positive interactions and occasional tensions that help us grow. This proverb teaches us several important principles. First, we need others to reach our full potential. None of us becomes our best self in isolation. Through honest feedback, encouragement, and even constructive criticism, those around us help refine our character and abilities. Second, growth often involves some discomfort. Just as the sharpening process creates friction, relationships sometimes involve difficult conversations or challenges that ultimately strengthen us. Third, the sharpening is mutual. Both parties benefit and grow. Healthy relationships aren't one-sided, but involve reciprocal growth and support. This wisdom should guide how we select and invest in our relationships. It suggests we should welcome friends who lovingly challenge us, rather than only seeking those who always agree. It encourages us to be the kind of friend who helps others grow rather than enabling harmful behaviors. It reminds us that communities where honest, respectful dialogue is welcomed lead to wiser, more mature individuals. Whether in marriage, friendship, family, or professional relationships, this principle of mutual sharpening creates connections that don't just feel good temporarily, but produce long-term growth and fulfillment. In a world that often celebrates impulsive behavior and instant gratification, Proverbs offers counterbalancing wisdom about self-control. Proverbs 25:28 states, "Like a city whose walls are broken through is a person who lacks self-control." To understand the power of this metaphor, we need to appreciate what city walls meant in ancient times. They weren't just boundary markers, they were essential protection against enemies, providing safety and security for everyone inside. When a city's walls were breached, it became vulnerable to attack and destruction. Similarly, a person without self-control becomes vulnerable to all kinds of harmful influences and poor decisions. This proverb teaches us that self-control isn't a limitation, but a protection. It's the ability to govern our impulses, emotions, and desires, rather than being controlled by them. Without this wall, we're at the mercy of every temptation, reaction, and external pressure. Self-control applies to numerous areas of daily life: our words, restraining anger or gossip, our appetites, moderating food, drink, or entertainment, our time management, balancing work and rest, and our finances, saving versus impulsive spending. Developing self-control isn't about suppressing our personality or denying enjoyment. It's about living with purpose rather than being swayed by every impulse or emotion. Like building and maintaining physical walls, developing self-control requires consistent effort and attention. It means pausing before reacting, considering consequences before deciding, and sometimes sacrificing immediate desires for long-term well-being. The person who cultivates self-control builds an internal strength that protects them from many of life's pitfalls and positions them for lasting success. Money matters touch nearly every aspect of our lives, and Proverbs offers remarkably practical financial wisdom. Consider Proverbs 22:7. The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender. This straightforward observation reveals important truths about debt and financial freedom. It's not condemning all borrowing or suggesting poverty is a moral failure. Rather, it's highlighting the reality that debt creates a power dynamic and often limits our freedom and choices. When we borrow, we create obligations that must be met regardless of how our circumstances might change. This proverb encourages us to carefully consider the long-term implications of our financial decisions. It suggests that financial freedom comes through wise stewardship, living within our means and avoiding unnecessary debt. Other financial proverbs reinforce this wisdom with principles like consistent saving. Proverbs 21:20. The wise store up choice food and olive oil, but fools gulp theirs down. Generosity. Proverbs 11:24-25. One person gives freely, yet gains even more. Another withholds unduly, but comes to poverty. A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. And honest work. Proverbs 13:11. Dishonest money dwindles away, but whoever gathers money little by little makes it grow. Together, these proverbs outline a financial approach marked by patience, discipline, generosity, and integrity. They teach us to view money as a tool to be managed wisely, rather than a goal in itself. These principles apply whether you're managing a household budget, running a business, or planning for retirement. By aligning our financial habits with these timeless truths, we avoid many common money pitfalls and position ourselves to provide for our needs while also being able to help others. Humility is a virtue highly prized throughout Proverbs. Proverbs 16:18 warns, "Pride goes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall." This observation has been confirmed so many times throughout history that it has become proverbial even in secular contexts. We've all witnessed how excessive pride often precedes major downfalls, whether in public figures, businesses, or personal relationships. This proverb isn't suggesting we shouldn't take appropriate pride in our work or achievements. Rather, it warns against the kind of pride that overestimates our own importance, wisdom, or abilities while undervaluing others. Such pride is dangerous because it blinds us to our limitations and vulnerabilities. It makes us resistant to feedback and unwilling to learn from others. It can lead us to take unnecessary risks or refuse help when needed. By contrast, humility positions us for long-term success and healthy relationships. Proverbs 11:2 affirms this, "When pride comes, then comes disgrace, but with humility comes wisdom." Humility enables us to learn continuously, acknowledge mistakes, and grow from them. It helps us maintain a realistic self-assessment rather than being deluded by our own importance. It makes us teachable and open to other perspectives. Practically speaking, cultivating humility means regularly seeking feedback, giving credit to others, admitting when we're wrong, being willing to serve, and remembering that our talents and opportunities ultimately come from God. True humility isn't thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. It's not self-deprecation, but an accurate self-assessment that acknowledges both our strengths and limitations. When we embrace this mindset, we protect ourselves from many painful falls and position ourselves to receive divine and human wisdom. The people we surround ourselves with profoundly influence our character, choices, and destiny. Proverbs 13:20 captures this truth perfectly. "Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm." This straightforward principle reminds us that relationships are not neutral. They either elevate us or pull us down. The wisdom of this proverb operates on several levels. First, it acknowledges the natural human tendency to adopt the values, habits, and perspectives of those we spend time with, whether we realize it or not. Our friends shape our thinking and behavior. Second, it offers a simple strategy for personal, Growth. If you want to develop a positive quality, spend time with people who already embody it. Want to grow in faith? Connect with people of deep faith. Want to improve in your profession? Associate with skilled professionals. Want to develop integrity? Build friendships with people of character. Third, it warns of the very real dangers of harmful associations. The phrase suffers harm isn't merely about reputation by association. It recognizes that foolish companions often lead us into foolish situations with real consequences. This doesn't mean we should only associate with people exactly like us, or avoid those who are struggling. Jesus himself was known as a friend of sinners, but it does mean being intentional about our closest relationships and recognizing their formative power. It means having the courage to distance ourselves from relationships that consistently pull us toward poor choices. It means seeking mentors and friends who challenge us to become our best selves. In a culture that often treats friendship as casual or disposable, this proverb reminds us to be thoughtful and selective about the voices we allow to influence us most deeply. As we conclude our journey through these timeless proverbs, let's reflect on Proverbs 3:5-6. Perhaps the most beloved passage in the entire book. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. This beautiful promise encapsulates the heart of wisdom, trusting God's perspective over our limited viewpoint. It reminds us that true wisdom isn't merely intellectual knowledge, but a relationship of trust with our Creator. The Proverbs we've explored today aren't just inspirational sayings. They're practical guides for navigating real-life challenges. They teach us how to speak with wisdom, work with diligence, guard our inner life, build healthy relationships, practice self-control, manage finances wisely, embrace humility, and choose friends carefully. But applying these principles requires more than mere knowledge. It requires consistent practice and divine help. I encourage you to select one of these proverbs that particularly resonated with you today and focus on applying it this week. Perhaps write it on a card, set it as your phone background, or memorize it. Look for specific situations where you can put its wisdom into practice. Share what you're learning with a friend or family member. Remember that growth in wisdom is a lifelong journey, not an overnight achievement. Each small step of obedience to these principles builds momentum toward a life of greater wisdom, purpose, and blessing. Thank you for joining me today as we've explored these treasures of divine wisdom together. If you found this helpful, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our upcoming content. Share this video with someone who might benefit from these timeless truths. Until next time, may you grow in wisdom and grace as you apply these proverbs to your everyday life.